I'm here at the request of Chef Robb. A lot of things that we need to discuss as a people. One of them is our economics, or better yet, should we say, our economic devastation. In the year 2011, black people in America spent $1 trillion, which we contributed to the American economic order. Of that $1 trillion, less than 7 cents of every dollar stayed in the black community. The black dollar only circulates once before it leaves our community. But that very same dollar may circulate 5 times amongst the Arab or 15 times amongst the Jewish American. We are hemorrhaging money at the same time that we beg for reparations. I am of the position that the best reparations is the reparations that you can give to yourself by saving your money, by using your money in a collective fashion to build the institutions and the industries that we need as a people. Let's be clear. All people are saved by institutions to serve their needs and industries to finance them. If you don't have institutions and you don't have industries, you have a broken community. That is true not just for African people, but for all people. What do we spend that money on? That $1 trillion in spending power, which makes us the 10th richest nation on the planet of the earth. Only 9 nations in this world gross more money than blacks in America. And none of those nations are African. So we are the richest nation of Africans in the world, although we only number approximately 40 million in number. What do we spend our money on? Automobiles. I was reading a spending report for Black America, 2011. We significantly, as a percentage, spent more money on automobiles than other people. What else do we spend our money on? Cell phones. Black people, more than anyone else, are likely to purchase more than 3 cell phones every year, even when we don't need them. And on top of that, we are the largest consumers of cell phone minutes. So not just the phone, but the time that we spend on the phone. Also, internet usage. African Americans spend a disproportionate amount of time surfing the internet because I guess going to the library is played out. We rather get all of our information from the internet, which has a lot of problems in it. Why? Because anything can be put on the internet, but not anything can be published. So if you have a child who has to do a book report on Frederick Douglass, for example, my ancestor, if they go to the library and they check out a book, that book came through a publisher, and that publisher proofread that book to make sure that it was full of facts and not fiction. But if your child does the book report based on information they find on the internet about Frederick Douglass, a lot of that information can be fraudulent. I'm saying that because I want to underscore the importance of traditional research and not internet research, which is making an entire generation of African children lazy. Instead of getting out of the home and walking to the library and spending a couple hours researching, they simply sit on the couch and open up the laptop and they surf the net for 10 and 20 hours. And even though they're on the computer to actually do research, they end up going to YouTube. They end up going to Facebook. They end up going to MySpace. They end up going to Twitter, which leads to what? Significant, disproportionate academic outcomes. There's one question that I hate when I travel the country, especially when I'm asked to speak on panels that are conducted by people who don't look like us. What's the number one question of the day? Why can't black children keep up? What is wrong with the black and the Hispanic children? Why do they always do poorly on the IQ test? Why do they always do poorly on the academic test? What's wrong with your children? If they're not intellectually inferior, explain it to us. Well, let's look at the statistics. African American children spend twice as much time in front of the television as any other group. African American children spend 3 times as much time in front of the internet than any other child. African American children spend 3 times as much time focused on entertainment and athletics. In fact, when I go into the classrooms across America and I ask African American boys what it is they want to do with the rest of their life, hands down, 99.9% of them wants to be an athlete or an entertainer. Rarely do I hear about anything else. Why is this a problem? Only 1% of all high school athletes will go professional. Only 1%. So that means if you look at all the black boys who want to be the next Michael Vick, or all the black boys who want to be the next Michael Jordan, and you put them all in one room and only 1% of them are going to the NBA or the NFL, where do the other 99% go? To jail, where they can watch all the NBA and all the NFL they want because there's nothing else left for them to do. What I'm saying is that although there is a design, although there is a plan, although there is a structure to the miseducation and premature incarceration of black males and the extermination of the African race in general, we have to recognize that we as a people are the #1 accomplice to the crime. That's right. When your children don't do their homework, you're setting them up for premature incarceration. When your daughters are outside playing and you don't know what young boy is whispering sweet nothings in their ear, you're setting her up for a life of teenage pregnancy. And why don't we want our young ladies having babies when they're 13 and 14 and 15? Because the #1 risk factor for a life of poverty is for an African American or Hispanic teenager to get pregnant before they get their high school diploma. If they get pregnant before they get their high school diploma, there's a 75% chance that they'll never get it, and there's a 99% chance that they'll never earn a master's or a doctoral degree. Teenage pregnancy is also psychologically devastating. Why? Because when a baby has a baby, you now have 2 children without an adult to take care of them. And when 2 children both have emotional needs for attention and nurturance, that teenage mother has to make a decision. Either I'm going to look out for my own emotional needs first, or I'm going to look out for my infants. Most of the time, they end up looking out for their own. Why? Because the infant isn't old enough to go out and find a mom and a dad to take care of them. So that teenage girl, still hungry for the masculine energy of her own father, puts her children second to her pursuit of a romantic attachment and relationship. This cycle repeats itself because now the infant grows up in a home where they don't get the appropriate amount of masculine or feminine energy that they need, and guess what? They're getting pregnant at 14. And that's why in our community, you can look at entire generations within the same family system and everybody suffers from the same psychological issue. Grandfather was an alcoholic, grandson was an alcoholic, great-grandson was an alcoholic. Grandmom had a baby at 14, her daughter had a baby at 15, grandchild has a baby at 16. Great-grandfather sold drugs, the son sold drugs, the grandson sells drugs. Why do we keep on seeing the same sickness repeat and reinvent itself every 15 years? Because it is difficult to break cycles of oppression. It is difficult to break cycles of destruction. It is difficult to undo something that you don't know how to undo.